On today's show, we're going to be looking at the early years in the UK, and quite frankly, why I hate my job. Let's do this.
The Something Else Podcast.
So, welcome back to another episode of the Something Else Podcast. Now, we're going to start this off kind of on an annoyance, really. By the way, if you do hear any background noise, it's because we're watching, what's the film? Free Guy. It's got Deadpool in it. And it's not Deadpool, it's Ryan Reynolds. It's got him in it, and he's an NPC that's no longer an NPC. It's very confusing. But so today we are talking about early years. Now, the reason why we're going to start off with an annoyance is because I left my bag at my workplace, right? And I work in the early years, right? I'm a forest school leader. I teach children how to play with knives. Thereabouts. And, well, I left my bag at work, and it's got a lot more work in that I wanted to do while I was at home. And the reason why I've started off as an annoyance, by the way, is because no one has keys to get me into the nursery, and the cleaner turns up pretty much whenever he wants. Bloody annoying is what it is. And I was just like, oh, come on. So I tried to do, like, you know, on the chance, I drive down to work, he weren't there. So I was a bit annoyed because it's like, yeah, you'd think as a manager you would have keys. No, they're lost. You'd think they'd have the number of the cleaner. No, doesn't have it. It's kind of annoying. So we're going to go over that, and we're just going to talk about the early years in the UK. Because I did have another kind of topic I wanted to talk about, but this one, I think with how my day was today, I think it just really topped it. So using my phone, because believe it or not, the book I was going to use is in my bag that's at work. So I'm using a website called Day Nurseries, right? And what they do, they basically review nurseries. In a nutshell, they review the nurseries so you can have a look to see how they are, blah, blah, blah. That sort of thing. And sometimes they do facts. Now, this was updated the 4th of this month, 4th of April. So it's very relevant. And it's this year, I might add. So I got a serious burp stuck. So, before we get into the facts, I'm just going to give you an idea of the things I've worked in. So I've worked in, I always call them state nurseries, so term time nurseries. So here in the UK, I'm not sure what it's like around the world, so it would be interesting. But in the UK, we have some nurseries. Let's make sure that's angled properly. One sec. I can imagine that sounded awful. So in the UK, we have nurseries that are open during the term. So classically, 6 weeks holiday. We don't work during that. To be fair, and I think this is a misconception in education in general in the UK, is that we get to DOS for the 6 weeks, and you don't really, especially teachers, because a lot of them 6 weeks are planning for the next term. So they do come in for a couple of weeks in the 6 weeks to get stuff ready, to redo the rooms, move stuff around, get work ready, that sort of thing. Back in the old days, we used to do learning journals, which is like to track the progression of the children. We used to do it manually, like physically in a book. So a lot of the stuff you'd have to prep all that. Honestly, it was a nightmare. Back in the days when, believe it or not, viewers or listeners or people who dare come across this channel, when we used to use, now Sam, I don't know if you remember this, but cameras that took floppy disks. She's seeing it right there. Cameras that had floppy disks. That was you could fit like 10 pictures on it, and it was of all camera makes, it was Sony. I'll put, if you're watching this, because I'm still on an hour and about doing a YouTube video for these, but I'll put a picture up of it. But essentially, yeah, you know, that's how it works. Whenever there's a holiday, Easter holiday, half term, whatever, the nurseries are generally not open. And then I've worked in private nurseries, which are pretty much open all year round, apart from bank holidays or if you book your time off. Sometimes you get a company that'll let you have your birthday off, which is always nice. So I've worked in an array of nurseries, and currently I'm in private, and I've gone from being a cleaner of a nursery to a deputy manager of a nursery, preschool sort of thing. And now my thing now is I'm a forest leader. So what does that mean? Well, I'm not gonna. You know what? Forest school may be a subject for another day. What do you think, Bab? Forest school for another topic one day. Yeah. The wife concurs and she says, "Shut the fuck up." But it's one of them ones where with forest school, like what I do is generally I plan all the outdoor activities within the forest. I'm quite lucky with the original company I worked with because we got sold. I used to pretty much every site would have their own forest, i.e., a little bit of natural land. It doesn't have to be big, just natural. And the idea is we give them an outdoor experience. Lighting fires. What else do we do? Tool work. Building confidence. The idea of forest school is to build social skills, the PSED, as well as their physical skills, all that stuff. It's brilliant. I love it to pieces. The problem is, so I really want to drink my tea because I need to wet my whistle for this, but the problem is it's too bloody hot because I've just made it. The problem is, well, let me get into some of the problems. So I've got some facts here. So it simply says how many earlier settings are in the UK. Now this is I think the information is as of April last year. So there are over 14,000 earlier settings registered in the UK. We don't talk about the unregistered ones. If you've ever seen Fight Club, no, I'm not saying it is that. It was a joke. But here's the breakdown of the numbers settings across the UK. Excuse me. England has 12,909. Wales has 368. That's really low. Scotland has 698. Northern Ireland has 222. Jesus Christ, that is low. So in total, we have 14,193. The figures are correct as of 17th of April last year. So basically a year ago. Not today. Day nurseries. Now, day nurseries are like what I work in, where it's open all day from like 7:30 till 6:30. In the UK, there are over 11,000. So England have the most, over 10,000. Wales, 341. Scotland, 600. Northern Ireland, 169. As a total, 1,475. 57, sorry. Day nurseries provide daycare to children up to 5 years old. They are similar to nursery schools. However, day nurseries do not require a trained head teacher or teacher to run the service. That's where we're going wrong. I never knew that. Bab, did you know that? That is shocking, and it explains a lot about my life right now. So, I guess that's what it was then. But in my first nursery, because we were an earlier setting, we were a nursery school. We had a head teacher, where all the other jobs I've had, we've had managers. But I did not know that. They are similar to nursery schools, however, this doesn't mean that the staff aren't qualified, and many day nurseries in recent years require their managers and deputy managers to hold a foundation degree or a degree in childcare. Nursery schools. There are over 2,000 nursery schools in the UK. England, 2,557. Wales, 27. Scotland, 97. Northern Ireland, 53. And the UK total is 2,736. That's shocking. I didn't realise. I mean, I kind of knew we had the most, but Jesus Christ, that's low. Nursery schools are usually run by a trained teacher or a head teacher and focus on preparing children for the transition to primary school through the structured activities. There are a range of different types of nursery schooling, including state-funded nursery schools, which is what I used to work, private, which is, again, what I've worked, and independent nursery schools, which, again, I've worked. Preschools are usually run by voluntary parent-led committees. I've never really worked in anything like that. The ones I've always worked in have had some form of management, either a head teacher or a manager, and generally most people are qualified. Children's centres I've never really worked in. They were originally introduced in 1998. I did not know that. I'm older than children's centres. That's depressing. So what do nurseries teach? I wonder, because I remember once there was a bit of a quarrelling going on once, and my man Samuel, forgive me for this, but there was a bit of quarrelling going on with families at one point about what to do, and words got exchanged, And it all fell down to like what we do in a day. My cousin is a mechanic, one absolute fantastic mechanic, I gotta say. And not only that, he can make the most ugliest turd-looking car look like sex on legs. Like he can do things with vinyl wrap that I've never seen a man do before. He could probably even do some stuff for yourself. But anyway, I digress. And we was talking about like what we do in a day. And I think it's even my dad, even though he knew what I did in a day, like what all nursery teachers and everyone does in a day. But, you know, I think there's a misconception with what an early years practitioner does, because we don't just play all day. For instance, tomorrow, when I get at work for whatever time, like 7:20, I have to make sure my planning is ready. Now, I only have a small group because I do the forest school. So I've got about 6 children I need to plan for. Each one of them have a different next step, i.e. something I want them to achieve, an intention. I have to make sure my activities fit their intentions. Then I've got to, this is all on a planning sheet. I've got to write down what the intentions are, how I'm going to implement it, and then I've got to have the impact now, the result. As well as that, I then have to, generally on a Friday, I have to put a resources list if I need anything bought. So I've got a plan for 6 children. Most other people in my room, they have anything between 8 to 12, maybe. The most I've ever had in one sitting is 16 key children. It was a nightmare. But generally, you don't normally have more than 10, right? So as well as doing the planning, I'm going to use this as my key group. I then have to cater for the fact that I've got a child who's got severe allergies to the point where he could die just by touching things like pasta. Normal pasta, you know, your wholemeal, whole grain, whatever. He can't have it because it will kill him. Even playing with dry pasta, it could kill him. So I've got to plan around that. So, you know, any parents listening to this or people that just like to make their own Play-Doh at home, I can't do that. I have to use free-from flour. Not normal plain flour. Oh, no. Free-from. Hang on. Bab, have you ever cooked with free-from? Or made Play-Doh with free-from? Don't. It's shit. It's the worst thing in the world. So I've got a plan like that. And then, after I've done all my planning and, you know, whatever else, I then got to do breakfast, right? Now, breakfast, Tuesdays, it's normally a hot breakfast, so toast or something, or crumpets. I've got a child who can't have them. Another child, as well as this child. So that's 2 children that can't have crumpets. I've then got about 5 children in the whole room that can't have milk, so they have to have an alternative. Oats milk. But then I have a child that doesn't have oat milk. She has to have coconut milk. Right? So I've got to get all that ready. Then we have to make sure the area is sterile, so we've got to clean them, antibac them, all that crap. Then they start to come in. We have to sign them in on a piece of paper, our register, and then on the tablet, which is our digital register. Then, if the medication is needed for said child, we have to get the parent to fill out a form to say, this is why, blah, blah, blah. However, if they haven't had it for like 48 hours or so, no, 24 hours, sorry, we can't let them in, or they can't come in with medicine because we don't know what's going to happen. Not to mention, I've got children in that room with asthma, children that have to have EpiPens. Holy shit, there's a lot to go on before the day's really even started. Wherever that child goes, their medical kit has to go with them. What else is there? Once breakfast is out the way, we then have to do registration. Then we do activities, blah, blah, blah. We then have to observe the child. So we have to take pictures, write about the child. We don't get time out to do this generally. We have to do it all in the room. I'm very popular because I'm amazing. I'm a god to these children. So it takes me a little bit longer to get the work done because I'm too busy playing. And then there's the toilet run. I'm in preschool. I've got children learning to use the toilet. There's many accidents. So I have to deal with biohazards. I have a child who's so allergic to life, he breaks out in rashes. I have to apply cream on him. I've got to put aprons on, gloves on, you name it. Then there's nappies. Holy Christ, the nappies. We've got to make sure that they're clean. They've got no poo on them. They've got no wee on them. You know, we have to put nappies on. Biohazards everywhere. What else is there? And then there's the sleep. When they go to sleep, you've got to make sure they're head to toe next to each other. You can't have 2 children with like facing each other. Could bang if they headbutt each other. Jesus Christ. And then you've got to do 10-minute checks in the sleep time in case they die. Huh? There's a lot to do. And every time we do something like change a nappy, we've got to write it down, the time, the child, what they had. Was it a bowel movement? Was it a wee-wee? Was it dry? Then we've got to write if we put cream on them. Then if they have medication, we have to get a member of management to do that. We have to witness it. Then the cook's got to do all the numbers for the dinners. How many allergies are there? How many requirements are there? How many normals? Then she signs it, management sign it, then we sign it. Ugh. And then at the end of the day, we have to tidy it all up, set up for a new day, and carry on again. The job is intense. Oh, and let's not get started if a child comes in with a bruise. We have to welfare log it. We have to say why we've wrote it down. Then we have to question the parents. Then you get something called a disclosure. Jesus Christ. I've only had like 2 disclosures. I can't talk about them. But a disclosure is when a child comes to you and says something not so nice, and then you've got to follow it up. They are horrible. I won't lie. I don't care if you're in early years, if you're in college, whatever. Whatever age it is, it's horrible. I hate them. It's something I don't wish anyone to ever have. I wish life was fine for everyone. Right? And this is a thing. Like, we don't just play. You know, in my workplace, like, we're lucky if we get 40-minute break, right? That 40 minutes, I've never seen so many people unwind, relax, and then prepare for the next like half of the day. And I work from 7:30 till tomorrow 6:30. You know, it's a tough job being a practitioner, because after this week, I then got to reflect on my planning and then plan accordingly. And that's just in the room. That's not even to do with forest school, because then in forest school, I have to do site checks, which means I got to make sure the site's safe. Then I have to make sure the equipment's safe. I.e., if I'm doing tool work, I need to make sure they're clean, they're not broken or anything. Also, I have a cat, right, who can't stop shitting in my fire circle. Annoying. So I've got to do that. In my forest school, I don't have a plumbed-in toilet. It's literally a toilet seat, and underneath is a bio bag, or the famous yellow bags, in like a bucket with sawdust. I have to clean that after every session. It's tough. One thing, and this is another thing, because of the amount of allergies, you know, we can't have, you know, like if you get obviously we bring our own lunch, and we can't have anything generally with nuts in it. So you can't have like a cereal bar that's got nuts in, or you know, you can't have anything like that. Even down to like, you can't have an egg, because we're a no nut, no egg nursery. Jesus Christ, there's a lot to do. So I just want to get that out of the way after a 5-minute rant. That it's not just, and I'm not shitting on anyone's job. Like my cousin, this was the thing. He's got a very physically demanding job. I would imagine also a mentally demanding job. 2 different jobs. I mean, you can't get the notion of what a mechanic does. You know, someone who works in the garage is most likely going to be working with the hands, with tools, with big equipment. But I think with earlier, it's just, oh, you're only playing. I was like, well, you know, when a parent's spending £89 a day, and I'm not lying, £89 a day, we're not just playing. But I wanted to get some facts in. Hang on. Where was I? So what do nurseries teach? Under the Child Care Act of 2006, all nurseries have to follow a statutory framework for early years education. Basically, it's like our curriculum sort of thing. So we follow the earliest foundation stages. It's been revamped so many times. The last time was 4 years ago. But essentially, that's just from birth to 3, then 3 to 4, then reception. It tells you like, it wasn't a tick list, but it was a tick list. And it was like, by this age, they should be doing this sort of thing. But there's some examples of teaching approaches, right? And this is where I come in with forest school, Montessori nurseries. I'm going to throw some words at you now. So Montessori was very much like a holistic kind of style. Now, if you don't know what holistic is, in a nutshell, it's learning in all ways, in all aspects sort of thing. Cater for everyone. So that's what that is. Yeah, hang on. So you've got... I've not really come across this, but Steiner, excuse me, he was an Austrian philosopher, and his was very much like a spiritual kind of way of learning, very much in a forestry kind of way, to be fair. That's how it fits in. But there's loads. What's this one? obviously bilingual. It's children that speak multiple languages. I mean, obviously, I don't. I can speak shit and bollocks. It's brilliant. What's this one? So this one's about a German teacher. I can't pronounce the bloody word, but it's all about why preschool or pre-teaching is best. So who regulates, right? So who regulates? Now, if you're in the UK, you probably heard of the word Ofsted. Now, Ofsted scare people, but I actually quite like them. Essentially, they just come around making sure you're doing your job. You're following the law. You're teaching the children, getting their thing from them. England have Ofsted. Scotland have Care Inspectorate, I think that says. Wales has the same thing, but in Welsh. And Northern Ireland have early years teams. They all essentially do the same thing. They're going to make sure we're doing our job. That's why if he was ever at school in the UK and, the teacher said, now I don't know if this is the same for you, Bab, but the teacher says, now we've got some visitors. And you're like, Ofsted. So what do? You play the fuck up. I'm going to try and see if my drink's cool enough for me to drink. Hang on. Oh my God. If you hear any dong noises, because I've got this bloody swing arm thing on my table. Excuse me. So rather than reading all of the crappy statistics, I'm just going to go with some next stuff. So staffs in nurseries are usually made up of managers, deputies, room leaders, practitioners. That's like most private day nurseries. Now, my wife will probably laugh at me when I say this. I'm going to read what a nursery manager does, Bab. Nursery managers are responsible for running the nursery. Generally speaking, nursery managers need a foundation degree or a degree in childcare, or child development, or a related subject. Now, I know the pay's gone up a wee bit, but so has the cost of living, so it all equals out. But in the UK, the average salary for a nursery manager is $28,000 a year. Not a lot when you're considering the job. But in Northern Ireland, in Wales, being just on so Northern Ireland have 29,000 a year. In Wales, it's 26. In Northern Ireland, salaries are reported to reach up to 46,000. That's crazy. So day-to-day duties, managing the nursery budget, recruiting staff, building relationships with parents, staff, and other professionals, managing records, working with colleagues to create a safe and successful environment, making sure the premises is safe and secure, safeguarding children. That's a very, very small amount. I will say that now. I can't do too much because, working for companies. But some companies, right, have actually abolished the whole reception team. So now the managers have to do more. How crazy is that? What else we got? I mean, deputy manager role is pretty much the same thing. Cover when they're not in. Room seniors is... this is where I get annoyed. Because I was a room senior once. And essentially, you're part of the management team, which means you're a scapegoat. So, the room senior is in charge of, for instance, preschool. If I was a room senior of preschool, I'm in charge of that team. I have to basically manage that team, do this, do that. I'm in charge of any welfare logging of that room. Essentially, it's what managers do and and what deputies do. So, for instance, I'm the forest school lead, so I have to manage all of that. I'm the go-to for it. Practitioners do everything a room senior does, except they don't have the responsibility of managing. We just plan activities, make sure the children are safe and learning and clean, blah, blah, blah. Apprentices, they're really not allowed to do a whole lot because they can't be left because they're not qualified or, well, they're learning, aren't they? Now, this is the fun part, ratios. Now, what that means is how many children can go to one adult. So, children under 2, 1 adult for every 3 children, 1 to 3. Children aged 2, it used to be 1 to 4, but it has now changed to 1 to 5. Though a lot of places are reluctant to want to do that. With preschool age, 3 and above, it is 1 to 8. But if you hold like a relevant level 6, you can have 1 to 13. Though that doesn't mean that practitioner can utilize it, because then Not dissing any practitioners I've worked with, but they generally can't handle that. One adult for every 30... What? One adult for every 30 children, 1 in 30. Oh, age 5 or older, you can have 1 to 30. Jesus Christ. I mean, that's basically it. Very similar in Wales, except it goes children under 2 is 1 to 3, children 2, 1 to 4, age 3 to 7 is 1 to 8, and age 8 to 12 is 1 to 10. Scotland under 2, same thing. 1 adult for every 5 children when they're age 2. Children aged 3 to 8 is 1 to 8, or 1 to 10. They're all very, very similar. Nursery forecast, what's this? Nurseries across the UK have faced financial difficulties for some time. A lack of government funding, I fucking agree there. And the COVID pandemic meant that many were forced to close their doors for good. We're lucky with the company I work for, just because because of the whole forest school vibe we were very lucky to have fresh air. So we didn't have as many closures or reports of COVID cases. It was brilliant. Staffing has always been hard because as the years have gone on, I'm just have a quick sip. So I've got Pop Shield on, so I'm utilising it. So, where did I get to? Oh yeah, staffing. So as the years have gone on, staffing has just become very, very difficult to get hold of in general. Like, the thing that baffles me as well is agency. Now, I don't know if other places, like, I'll use you again, Samuel. Do you get agency workers in your place? Like, say if you was to call in sick, would someone come and cover you from like another agency, like another mechanic? Because in education, you can have agency workers, which means someone will come in and basically cover that shift. So, here's a practitioner, or here's a cook sort of thing. But what baffles me, especially in the early years, is how many come in that have no interest in being with the children, or most of the time they're just studying because they're in uni and they just want money. But a lot of them come in not even like interested or learning about the field they've just like got into. I had one who's studying law. I was like, why are you in a nursery? You know what I mean? It's stupidness. But essentially, staffing is tough because it's such an underappreciated job. It's not as well paid as it should be, but saying that, so is every job. It's a stressful job. It's very, very tough. Like, something I didn't involve in what we do on a day-to-day basis is deal with complaints by parents or being berated by parents. I'm quite lucky being a very tall, bald-headed, bearded man. I don't generally get anyone to challenge me, but with a lot of the females, because I'm going to say it, because they're female, they get targeted. You know, a very angry dad can easily shout at a woman, but is he going to shout at me? That's the problem. And I think it's just, it's trying to convince someone, oh yeah, join this job. It's hard because once we get you in, how are we going to keep you there? Honestly, it's tough. Obviously, cost of living's going up, blah, 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 blah. Oh, that's it. That is it. Okay. Well, I'm going to make some more noise. There we go. I just, like, with the amount of, I've been in early years now for what? 15 years this year? That's crazy. Hang on. Something like that. Yeah, 15 years. And I've been wanting to come out of it for bloody ages. Now I've got a lot of things going on. I'm trying to get back on track with doing the podcast. I've got a YouTube channel. I'm not saying the classic, subscribe and ring the bell. I'm not doing any of that crap. But my point is, it's like, I do a lot of stuff and it's the stuff I love doing. I like to talk to people. I like to entertain, so to speak. I like to review things, like on my YouTube channel. Every now and then I stream when I can actually have the energy to do it. I do woodwork. I play in a band. I do photography and videography. And I think without them, I'd probably lose my mind. Like, honestly, like if someone said, there's 2 options, not proper Matrix thing, put the hands out sort of thing. And it's like, the red pill is you can go and chase your wildest dreams. It might not be successful, but you can chase them. And then the blue pill was, you guarantee to stay in this job you're doing right now, like forever. There's no scare of losing your job. What would you do? I would jump at the red pill and go and chase my dreams, because it's horrible when you feel, what's the word? Not demoralized. Like, I guess it is demoralized when you wake up and you think, oh, gotta go in there now. I mean, it is super horrible. I hate it. I mean, I think I've had a bit more love for my job as of recently, and yeah, I don't know. Every now and then you have a day where you think, you know what, it's bloody worth it. And then other times you're like, and that's why this comes in handy. Hang on. My wife got me this. It's brilliant. I've called him, I need to think of a name. Patrick the Positive Potato. Now, if you're listening to this, I'm holding up a crocheted potato holding a sign, and it says, Positive Potato, I may be tiny potato, but I believe in you. Go do your thing. Naturally, I assume that's how a potato speaks. And that's the thing. It's, if you're not positive, then you're going to let the jobs rule. And well, honestly, I'm not up for that. And yes, I just checked out the time on my watch. But yeah, well, what about you guys? Like that's an insight, a tiny insight, even though I've been rambling on for 30 odd minutes. That's an insight to my job. So I want to know about you guys. Again, should I keep doing the videos for the podcast? Or should it just be straight to like all the audio services? But yeah, I want to know about your jobs. I want to know, what it's like. What do you do? What's the childcare system like in the country you're from? Obviously, leave a comment, a like or whatever. Follow me on the socials. It'll be all in the links and all that nonsense. Yeah, until next time, have a good one. I'll see you soon. Bye.